that time we're going to start building the V-stem. So we're not going to talk much, but we're going to show you step by step on how to do it. And we're going to first start off with 3/4 inch plywood. Now this is what I'm using to cut it, the skill saw. Now if you don't have a skill saw, you can also use a jigsaw. And also use a straight edge to cut straight. Let's say if we're doing a cut 18 inches by 14 and a half. So you have to remember those that's making the cut. So you want to mark 18 inches. This is going to be your cut. Remember now, when you use your skill saw, you're not going to place it right here to make your cut. What you have to measure your skill saw from where your blade comes. On the end, to see how far your blade comes. 1.5 inches from here to the blade. So now you know you have to go back to your measurement, the mark that you made. I don't know if you can see my mark. Make it a little darker here. This is my mark. This is where it's going to be the cut. So now you have to measure now 1.5 inches more, plus an 8-inch for your skill saw blade. So that will be 1 5/8 inches. And you do the other side of your plywood also to make your cut. And I'm going to put the straight edge down to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now we place our straight line on our plywood and we're ready to make our cut. I don't know if you can see my mark right here. And remember now, we measured from the end of our skill saw to the blade and we got 1.5 inches. But don't forget, usually the blade is an 1/8 inch thick, so you will have 1 5/8 inches. Now the straight line that I'm using, you can pretty much buy this at any hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, or even at Harbor Freight. Okay, these now are just my rough cuts. So I have 3 of them cut out. I also have the inside piece. The inside piece, I have a light plywood. You can even use a 1/2 inch plywood if you want for the inside. So this one right here, this is going to be 16.5 by 13 inches wide. Now a good thing to do is label all your pieces that you cut. The first one that we label is A. Now this one is 19 inches by 18 inches wide. This is the front and the back piece. And the second one is B. That's the 2 inside piece for the right side and the left. That's 19 inches by 13 inches wide. And the top and the bottom one, that's C. This is the one now that will put the hole in. C, that's 18 inches by 14.5 inches wide. And you're looking at D, 16.5 inches long by 13 inches wide. This is the inside shelf. There are also full small strips that we have to cut also at 2 inches by 16.5, and the other ones are 2 inches by 11.5 inches. Okay, before we go on, I want to stop you. I just want to show you something. Now remember the rough cuts that we had, the one that's marked C, before you even cut it to halfway and make the full cut, the original cut, don't do like me, because we started like this. Now what you're looking at is the rough cut, but I end up making a mistake and cut it to its actual size, and should have left it as a rough cut to put the hole in it. That's the one that you will have to put the hole in. So I just want you to know, stop right there. While it's long, you can clamp it down on the table and you can use your jigsaw, or if you have a router, I'll show it to you exactly how we doing it. So you can clamp it down. You have enough space to clamp it down and make your hole in there. I'll show you how to do that also. Now the one that's marked C, 18 by 14.5 inches. I draw it with a pencil mark, so I don't know if you can see it, as if it's 18 by 14.5 inches. And what you do now, if you have a ruler or you have your straight edge, from one corner of your wood, you put your straight edge down to the other corner and you draw a line. And you do that with both ends. Now the other end also, do the same thing. So now you see you have your square. Middle of your square now, you see the X you have. that's the center of your plywood. So remember this, that's the center of your plywood where you pin it down and put your router to make your circle. So I'll get that set up and show it to you how to do it. So what we're gonna do next now, I made me a little jig. I also post a link below where you can buy one. I usually go to Rockland. So you might look at this and say, this is just a piece of wood. But this is my jig that I made. Now the jig that I made, the one I'm showing you right now, you don't have to make one. I advise you to buy one. It's pretty cheap. I have one, I just never got around to opening it, but I'll leave a link below so you can see exactly which one if you like to purchase one. This is my jig I have. I never opened it, and I just have it laying around. Okay, now I got my jig set and I got the router in place. And this is what I want you to do now. I got mine flat. So on your jig also, you should know the center of your jig, where it's the center. And I usually put a line through mine, so I think on the front of this one, I should have a line. So I want you to look at it. So you can see my line, that's the center of the router. So now, this is the key now. And the bit that I'm also using is called a cleaning bottom. If you can see it, I don't know if you can see it. I have it flushed all the way in for right now. But it's called a cleaning bottom bit. There's different bits you can use also. So from the center of the router bit to the board, you measure 4 inches. And you put a hole, so you can see where I got a line right there. See the line right here? And you see that hole in there? That's what I put a nail through. So when you put the nail through there, coming from the front, I use a little small nail. So this is my 4 inches right here. So I should have had my hammer right here, but you know, take a hammer and remember the center of your wood. That's what you will do. You will pound the nail to the center of your plywood. When the X, where the X come across, that's your center. The one mark, see? So you put your plywood on here and look for the nail and try to place it directly on the center of the X. Now you can use a longer nail to see exactly where you're placing it. So what I did now, I put the nail through so I don't make a mistake. So I have my 4 inches and I want to make sure I get the center of the plywood. So I gotta look at the nail and I gotta try to place it right down in the center of it. So when you place it down, pick it back up so you can see exactly where, if you can see a pinhole. And that's how you'll know that you line it up. Another key thing is, after you have your plywood, remember you had to sand everything down. So once the plywood is sanded and very smooth, it's easy when you have it in place for it to spin around. Remember now, yours should be longer than mine. I'm working with mine because I cut it shorter to make it spin around. So yours you can really clip down and can just turn, but mine's I gotta figure a way how to work it to turn it around. Drop it down just some. I know it's touching the wood. Every time I turn it off, I go down a little deeper on the router. Now it's about to fall out real soon, and I don't want nothing to go wrong with this plywood, so I'll put a whole piece of plywood or MDF wood at the bottom of it so it can fall in case I go down too deep. Just so it slides, so I know I cut it already. So step by step. This is how you make your circle. So the next thing you have to do now, you want to take your time real good, sanding everything. Look how perfect the circle is. All all you have to do now is just clean it up. Now we first started with 120 grit, and then we moved to a 220. So now that's how it's done. This is how you make the circle. So now we'll start putting everything together. Now it's time to start assembling everything together. Now what I'm gonna do with this one, I'm gonna use the kreg jig. I don't know if you know of the kreg jig, but I'll show you what the kreg jig is. I'll make some holes in the inside of it. So I'll be screwing it from the inside. These are the holes. So what I'm gonna do, I'm put it inside and screw it in. And the screws that we use with the kreg jig, you use the kreg jig screws. So we're gonna use the 1.5 inch screw for this. So I have to do the other side, then I'll start to put it together. Now, don't get me wrong, the kreg jig screws, you don't have to use them. I'm just using them because I got them on hand. The last time I built it, I used the regular screw where I screw from the outside to the inside, but this one I'm screwing the kreg jig from the inside. Just because I have it, so I'm using it. Because this kind of screw, it uses the square tip end. Now the clip you just saw, I had to edit it over. I messed up real bad. I used the one that was labeled A. If you notice, I edited. Now you don't have to watch a whole video. You can just fast forward to the part that you want to know about or what you want to see. Okay, now that we have our box assembled together now, there's a few more pieces we're gonna cut. It's just a little small. You don't have to do it, but this is how I made mine the last time. We're gonna cut 2 pieces, a 2-inch length at a 16.5 inch. And then you'll cut 2 more at 2 inch by 11.5 inch. That's the one that's gonna go inside of the box where you put your shelf. These cuts we showed earlier in the video. Also for this one, I'm not gonna make a door. I'll use the top as a door where you can open and close. If you can see, I put the shelf in there already. But these are the pieces. I'm gonna pick it up and watch. Let's see if it fall out. These are the pieces that you have to cut. And you can just place it in the inside. These are the 11.5 inches long and 2 inch wide. And the other 2 is 16.5 inches long and 2 inches wide. All you need is 4 pieces. The last one I made, I put one in the middle. You can if you want to, but you don't have to at all. Because the inside shelf, let me try to take it out here. It's really light. You can also use a 1/2 inch plywood if you like. This is real light. I use pine, 3/4 inch pine is real light. And if you remember this piece, that's the one you cut. You put it in there, it's fall right in there. So once you have your 2 inches, it's gonna lift it up. So as long as you made all the dimension cuts that I gave you, everything should fall into place. Okay, the pieces I told you about, I just cut mine, and I put some glue on there, some wood glue. So when it dries, when it dry up, I'll put some brad nails on there also, to make sure everything's sturdy and tight. Okay, now that I let it dry for a while, so I'm gonna put some brad nail in the inside. If you don't have brad nails with the gun where you can shoot the nail, and you can use like regular nails and just tap it in the inside. But since I have it at my disposal, I have the brad nail gun. That's what I'll use. Now watch this. Watch how easy the shelf just go in there right in place. And I just push it down. So now what I do, I can put glue on there before I put it on, and just put some brad nails in all the corners or all around it. Put a couple of brad nails in there. So now we're gonna just put the top on there and put a latch on there and just sand it all over again, and that's it. And here you have your V-stem. And what I'm gonna do with this one, I'm gonna just put the latch on the top to make the door you can open and close, and that's it. Also, for this one, I didn't put nothing, the wood at the bottom. I told y'all to cut it, but I did not put it at the bottom, so I'm gonna just leave it like it is, because we had the frame at the bottom already, so that's all I need. So one more thing, just ask that you press the like button and subscribe. See you again. Now it's time for some bloopers, and believe me, there was a whole lot to show, but I would just start off with just only a few. Here's my daughter looking in the back, looking straight in the camera like she's crazy. You can still record. Okay. Go ahead. Now I got to do my whole thing. Come on, Antoinette, man. She fired.
I'm laughing because
I'm trying to record, man. No, how many takes am I have to do?
I was trying to run away because I just realized I was in the camera.
Oh. Now with this one, I was putting everything together. We started to assemble it. And the first one I had down, I said it was A, and it's not supposed to be A. A is not the bottom and the top. It's supposed to be C. So now A is the bottom, and you put B. Now with this one, after I screwed it in and I stood it up, I noticed it was wrong. Now if you got this far in watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it.